I'm Randy Reed, editor of the Edison Report, and I am here in Eindhoven with Bastiaan de Groot of INGY. Bastiaan, welcome.
Thanks, Randy. Thanks for having me.
First of all, tell our audience a little bit about INGY and what you're doing.
So what we do is we make buildings smart by using lighting as the infrastructure for the smart building. So by using all the wireless nodes in the lighting, which are already there to do the lighting control, we can make a second network inside the building next to the existing Wi-Fi network, which is dedicated for low power, low data transportation with a very high density of repeater nodes in the lighting.
Okay, in INGY, you sell the software.
Right.
So
yes.
you have developed this software and then you sell it to sensor companies, is that correct?
Correct. So we're actually working together with a company called Wirepass, who developed a generic application wireless mesh, which is highly scalable and reliable. And then we built the lighting control layer on top of that, and we license that together as a package to sensor manufacturers.
So when we talk about that, I'll read press releases of organizations or companies that have put together 300 nodes or 500 nodes. How scalable is yours?
Well, I would say that, to be honest, I wouldn't know how big it is because we never reach the limits. So what we know from Wirepass, right, the underlying radio technology is that the largest mesh they built is 800,000 nodes outside of the lighting industry. And we built it on the same mesh technology. We've done projects with thousands of nodes. That scales absolutely fine, so it's completely plug and play, no segmentation of the network, no radio frequency picking, not any of that, just plug thousands of nodes in one building, they all connect, go to the gateway, send their data out, do the lighting control. And of course we've done lots of theoretical simulations, calculating the network node, and we don't see any limitations in the tens of thousands of nodes in the network.
Why did you develop this?
So what we were seeing, I mean, I think that the idea of using lighting as the backbone for the smart building is, I would say, almost a decade old, and I find that almost scary because it realizes that I'm already in this industry for a decade now. But if you want to do that, if you truly want to use lighting as the backbone of your smart building by incorporating a wireless mesh, you really need a mesh that can scale to the tens of thousands of nodes, right? Because you don't just need the lighting nodes, you need all the other nodes in the building to also join on that same mesh.
Sure.
And if you want to do a building, the size of a skyscraper, you really need, or a very large logistics center or a very large hospital, you need tens of thousands of nodes.
Okay.
And the scalability of that mesh has really been a limitation.
And then the benefit of this would be asset tracking is one benefit?
So we see, I think currently we see I think we have dozens of beyond lighting sensors that can benefit and reduce their cost from using our mesh, and we have those operational right now, and we're able to do so many because we do this in an open ecosystem. So we have all kinds of partners that have developed all kinds of applications on top of the mesh. But if you look at some of the key propositions that we really see the most traction in, one is absolutely asset tracking. So where we track objects in real time by using lighting as the backbone.
Sure.
And of course the immense cost reduction that we achieve there is that you don't have to put in separate anchor nodes into the building, right? Because that's already paid for from your lighting budget. So that's a big one. Another one that we see a lot of traction on that we launched at Light Fair 2 months ago. You've seen it there. So what one of our partners actually did was build a people counting sensor that is roughly the price of a high-end presence sensor.
Interesting.
And that means you can within your lighting budget put the hardware already in place to do the people counting. But then you suddenly need a much more powerful mesh, right? Because if you do a bit of lighting control, you would be sending a message every 10 minutes, worst case, right? Hey, there is presence, this group needs to go on. For 10 minutes you don't send any message. But if you start doing people counting, people walk in, out of the room, you're getting messages per minute. So it's a whole different level. So their people counting sensor together with the lighting control solution from and the power of the Wirepass mesh really enables people to do large-scale people counting, and we're taking that cost out, right? Because normally you would put a presence sensor in for the lighting and then stick a people counting sensor in for a few €100 next to it. And now you don't. You just have the lighting.
I think that's so important in today's work environment.
Oh, absolutely.
When you've got so much flexible work to know where the people are and how the buildings are being utilized.
Yeah.
Hospitals for asset tracking, is that a big opportunity?
Yes. So we see the asset tracking, there's two main markets, hospitals and logistics centers.
Okay.
That's the two main markets we're deploying the asset tracking in. I would say the demand and the benefits in hospitals is bigger, but we're seeing that the sales in logistics ramps up much faster.
So let's say that you're a REIT, a real estate investment trust, and you own a lot of buildings.
Right.
What is the advantage to having this asset tracking system in a building?
Well, I think you touched on a really interesting point there, right? Because one of the key things that people always talk about is the split incentives between building owner and building occupier. Right, because the building owner ain't going to use asset tracking. That's the building occupier, right? So why should the building owner invest in a asset tracking system? And I think that's what we really solved. This is the conundrum that we really solved, because building owner has to buy a lighting control system anyway. So we're offering a lighting control system for roughly the same price. Right, it's really in percentages, 1 or 2% difference, and you get a whole lot of benefits in terms of no central control hardware, no wires. So from a lighting perspective, you're already getting a great deal, better than you're getting already just on the lighting benefits. And so your investment as a real estate owner is basically zero, because you were already going to put lighting in your building and you're already going to pay for it. It's already budgeted. But now your building is asset tracking ready. All the hardware for the asset tracking is already there. And if any occupier comes in and they want an asset tracking system, you can say, well, I can offer it to you. You can buy it as a subscription from me, or you can go and buy a forklift and put all the sensors in the ceiling yourself. And by the way, at the end, you can also rent it again to go and take it out, because I want my space clean delivered. So you're always going to win.
It's a differentiator when you're renting this.
Absolutely.
This warehouse. Okay. Tell us a little about your company and the go-to-market strategy. You're based in Amsterdam.
Yes.
And where are you doing business today?
Globally. Right.
Okay. You were at Light Fair.
Yes.
Saw you at Light Fair.
Exactly. So we launched with a number of partners in the US. Actually, from Light Fair, we're pretty much closed our first large project, large warehouse in the US we're rolling out. And we're very active in Asia Pacific, which we're several customers of ours, partners of ours, are trialing the solution, and we're expecting them to launch early next year.
Okay.
And so,
how about Europe?
Yeah, and of course Europe. I mean, we started, our very, very first building was in the Netherlands, obviously close by. We've got dozens of projects across Europe with different partners. But we work a lot with our partners, and one of the key things that we stick by is we stay in our lane, right? So if you build a proposition, you have to give space for your partners to be able to add value and make money, right? You can't then become their competitor at your first project. So we have spent a lot of time where, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go with a lot of people, right? So if you're going for your first project, the easiest thing to do is to just take the whole project by yourself. But we said, no, we're going to bring in the installer, we're going to bring in the lighting company, and we're going to give them their share of the project. And that costs you a lot of money in the beginning, right?
Again, you are supporting our industry, and you're working through our industry, not around our industry.
Absolutely. We're working with lighting partners, we're working with sensor manufacturers, because beyond lighting sensor manufacturers and lighting sensor manufacturers, portal providers, all kinds of smart building portal providers that can visualize and take our data and present that to their customers.
Okay. Well, Bastiaan, is there anything I haven't asked you that I should ask you?
Oh gosh.
I put you on the spot.
Yeah, no, I think we covered. Well, actually, we've only covered two of the propositions. I was gonna.
Okay, please.
Yeah. So we've got the asset tracking. We've got the People tracking. I think another one that we see a lot is a very niche one, but it's actually window open close detection.
Window open, close.
Yes.
Now, why is that important?
So if you can detect if a window is open or closed, you can tune your aircon. Right, the moment the windows are open, you want to close your aircon off. Now, installing a sensor on a window is actually really, really expensive, because if you want to do it wired, it has to be done really, really neatly, right? You can't just pull the wire. You can't drill it into, you have to really neatly. So the installation cost of these sensors is really high. So wireless makes a lot of sense there. And we can actually do this wireless and battery free, because we could use power it off a little solar. Because all the yes, because and all it needs to do is get the signal to the first luminaire, right? So it doesn't need to maintain the mesh. It just, once it sees the windows are open and closed, it just sends out a message, and there's always a luminaire that picks it up, and we make sure that sensor data can get to the cloud. You could never do that with a 5G, because you couldn't power it off. So that's one, and then power sub-metering is taking a huge increase at the moment.
Such as the water meters?
Water meters, so water metering, but also power sub-metering, where you put a little device, you get electricity power, so you put it somewhere in the building, so you can see which department is actually using your energy. Because what we're seeing is everybody now has connected their buildings to a cloud, so they have this portfolio view of each building, how much they use versus their square
building.
Now they want to double click on it.
Okay.
And they want to see, and again, they want to install these sensors around the building, and then we can actually give the connectivity layer through the lighting to connect all these power sensors, so they can just stick them anywhere in the building.
Interesting. Never even thought of that concept. Okay, well, Bastiaan, thank you for sitting down with us.
Thank you.